It was a sunny day in Sarajevo, in a country called Bosnia. The year was 1914. A young man named Gavrilo Princip fired 2 shots. These shots changed the world. He killed Archduke Franz Ferdinand. The Archduke was important. He was next in line to be the leader of Austria-Hungary. Austria-Hungary was furious. They blamed Serbia for the Archduke's death. You see, Gavrilo Princip was Serbian. Austria-Hungary gave Serbia an ultimatum. An ultimatum is like a threat. They said, do what we say or we will attack you. Sadly, Serbia couldn't agree to everything. Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia. This wasn't just a fight between 2 countries. It was bigger than that. It was the start of a world war. Why did the world go to war over this? Countries had made promises to help each other. These were called alliances, like a big web. These alliances pulled country after country into the fight. Germany sided with Austria-Hungary. Russia promised to help Serbia. Britain and France joined Russia. In just a few weeks, most of Europe was at war. The world split into 2 sides. On one side were the Central Powers. This group included Germany, Austria-Hungary, and the Ottoman Empire. On the other side were the Allied Powers. Britain, France, Russia, and eventually many others, including Italy and the United States, were part of this group. The war wasn't fought in just one place. It raged across the world. Most of the fighting happened in Europe. There were 2 main fronts, or areas of fighting. In the west, trenches stretched across France and Belgium. In the east, battles raged across vast distances in Russia, but it wasn't just Europe. The war reached faraway lands. Battles were fought in Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. Soldiers from Australia, Canada, India, New Zealand, and many other countries fought in the war. The world had never seen a war like this before. Imagine a long, deep ditch dug into the ground. That was a trench. Soldiers lived in these trenches for weeks, even months at a time. Life in the trenches was miserable. It was muddy, smelly, and dangerous. Rats were everywhere. The soldiers had little food. They were always cold and wet. And all the time they faced the enemy. The threat of death was constant, but in the trenches, soldiers found strength in friendship. They looked out for each other. They shared what little they had. They played games and sang songs to keep their spirits up. In the face of horror, they found courage and hope. World War I was a new kind of war. It was a war of machines. New technologies made the war deadlier than ever before. Machine guns could fire hundreds of rounds a minute. Artillery guns fired huge shells that exploded with incredible force. The tank was invented. This armored vehicle could drive over trenches and through barbed wire. It was a fearsome weapon. Perhaps the most terrifying new weapon was poison gas. It could be released without warning, killing or injuring anyone who breathed it in. Gas masks offered some protection, but they were uncomfortable and frightening to wear. For years, the war raged on. Millions of soldiers died on both sides. Then, in 1917, something changed. The United States, which had tried to stay out of the war, joined the fight. They joined on the side of the Allies. The United States was a powerful country. They brought fresh soldiers and supplies to the Allied cause. This tipped the balance of power. The tide of the war began to turn. After more than 4 long years, the fighting finally came to an end. On November 11, 1918, an armistice was signed. An armistice means, well, an agreement to stop fighting. The guns fell silent. The war was over. People around the world rejoiced, but the cost of the war had been enormous. Millions lay dead. Millions more were wounded, both physically and emotionally. Countries were in ruins. The world was forever changed. The war had a profound impact on the world. Maps were redrawn as empires crumbled and new nations were born. The war also led to big changes in how people lived. Women who had taken on new roles during the war demanded more rights. The war also led to the creation of the League of Nations. This organization was created to prevent future wars. Sadly, it wasn't strong enough to stop another world war from happening just 20 years later. World War I was a terrible tragedy. It's important that we remember the millions of people who died or were injured in the war. We remember the soldiers who fought bravely. We remember the nurses and doctors who cared for the wounded. and we remember the civilians who lost their lives. Every year on November 11th, we mark Remembrance Day. We wear poppies to remember those who sacrificed so much. More than a century has passed since the guns fell silent in 1918. The world has changed in countless ways. But the echoes of World War I can still be felt today. We see them in the monuments and memorials that dot our landscapes. We hear them in the stories passed down through generations, and we feel them in the quiet moments of reflection. World War I reminds us of the human cost of conflict. It teaches us that war is never the answer. It's a reminder to strive for peace, understanding, and cooperation between nations. Let us never forget the lessons of the Great War.